This morning, the warm sunlight spreads evenly across the new city of Binduong. The golden rays of sunlight dance through the foliage, creating a brilliant picture of nature, blending with the chirping of birds. The fresh air signals a hard but challenging day of work for Mr. Gao's sawing team. As soon as he arrived at the workshop, Mr. Gao received a call from Mr. Tu and Mr. Bei, two residents living in the eastern part of the city. "Hello, is this Mr. Gao? The tree in front of my house is growing too high, the branches are almost touching the power lines, very dangerous. And Mr. Bei's tree is growing close to the wall, afraid that strong winds will fall and damage the house. Please ask your team to come and help." Upon receiving the news, Mr. Gao did not hesitate. "Guys, today there is an important matter here, the people need help to deal with the trees near the power lines and next to the houses. The work may be a bit difficult, but just calmly do it step by step." The whole team quickly prepared their tools. Chainsaws, safety ropes, pulleys, along with a few forklifts to ensure safety when pruning high branches. The cheerful laughter made the atmosphere before setting off more exciting, even though they knew in advance that today's work would not be easy. When they arrived at the residential area in the east of the city, the sawing team immediately realized the challenge ahead. The trees here were not only tall but also grew close to the power lines stretching across the streets. Mr. Gao stood below looking up, frowning at the difficulty of the task. "You have to be extremely careful. One mistake can have unpredictable consequences," he instructed the team members. Uncle Tu stepped out of the house, his face somewhat worried. "I planted this tree a long time ago, but now it's too tall, I'm scared. Those big branches are about to touch the power lines. I hope you guys do it carefully." Mr. Gao smiled, reassuring his uncle, "Don't worry, we work very carefully. A branch this big would be dangerous if it fell, so we had to be careful with every step." The team quickly got to work. Mr. Gao and Mr. Min prepared the safety ropes and lifting equipment. The whole team started to divide the work. One group was in charge of trimming the small branches high up, avoiding them falling onto the power lines. The other group prepared to saw the large tree trunk near the house. The sound of the chainsaw rang out, rhythmic and decisive. The large branches swayed in the wind, but thanks to the sawing team's skill, each large branch was neatly trimmed and lowered safely. At this time, Mr. Gao was on the forklift, slowly moving the chainsaw close to the largest branch near the power line. "Hold on to the safety ropes, guys," he shouted. Below, Mr. Min and Mr. Fat stood ready to pull the pulley to lower the branches when needed. Little by little, Mr. Gao carefully cut from the outside in, not too fast to avoid causing major disturbances, but not too slow so that the branches wouldn't swing too much. Everything went exactly as planned. When the last large branch was safely lowered to the ground, the team members could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. "Part of it is done, let's continue," Mr. Gao said loudly, encouraging the team. The work continued with the smaller branches, and the sawing team gradually cleared the part of the tree near the power line. After completing the work at Mr. Tu's house, the team quickly moved to Mr. Bei's house, where there was another large tree growing right next to the house. This tree had existed for many years. The trunk was large and hard, but now it became a concern because it was so close to his house. Mr. Bei stood on the porch, looking up at the large tree, unable to hide his worry. "This tree is so big, I'm afraid that if the wind and rain come and it falls, the house will be ruined. Please help me bring it down safely." Mr. Gao observed carefully. This tree was larger than the one at Mr. Tu's house and could pose more risks if not handled skillfully. "This tree is difficult, we have to use a pulley to pull it slowly, we cannot let it fall freely," Mr. Gao analyzed. The team divided the work again. Mr. Fat and Mr. Tan started to saw the tree trunk from the lowest part, while Mr. Min and Mr. Gao used a pulley to pull the tree in the opposite direction, ensuring that when cut, the tree would fall to a safe side, without hitting the house. The sound of birds chirping echoed through the residential area, mixed with the sound of saws and axes hitting the tree trunk. Nature and the work of the sawing team intertwined, creating a truly lively scene. The sun shone brightly on the beads of sweat on the foreheads of the team members, but no one was discouraged. They understood that the safety of the people was the most important. When the last part of the tree trunk was cut off, the entire tree fell as planned, without causing any damage. Mr. Gao put down the chainsaw, sat down on the pile of wood he had just cut, and breathed a sigh of relief. Today was really hard work, but the result is great. He smiled brightly and patted Min on the shoulder, who had been by his side the entire time. Uncle Bei could not hide his joy. "Oh my God, luckily, this tree did not fall and hit the house. Thank you very much." Mr. Gao replied with a smile, "Yes, don't worry, we worked very carefully. Today's work was hard, but completing it safely is the most important thing." When the work was finished, the saw team began to pack up their tools. The sun was higher, the golden sunlight covered the entire residential area. The birds were still chirping in the trees.